Almost doesn't make it. Doesn't make it to the win column, man. Not for the Jacksonville Jaguars. We'll talk about today's loss and more in this edition of Locked On Jaguars.
You are Locked On Jaguars, your daily Jacksonville Jaguars podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
It is your team every day here on Locked On Jaguars. We thank you for making us your first listen. Welcome to a postcast edition of Locked On Jaguars. We have to go over a tale of two halves, and that's what we'll do today. The Jacksonville Jaguars were outplayed by the Philadelphia Eagles and still had a chance to win the game late. They did not do it. So here on this postcast, what we're going to do is go over a tale of two halves, but same old Jags, meaning they just didn't win. They lost their fifth game this year by 5 points or less. And then we'll go over how almost doesn't count and tell you what the big picture really means. We'd like to thank our everydayers for joining us here on Locked On Jaguars. You can do the same. Make sure you tap into the YouTube page or wherever you hear or listen to your podcast. All right. So the Jacksonville Jaguars lose today to the Philadelphia Eagles, 28-23. They had less than 40 yards of offense in the first half on 18 plays. I'm going to repeat that again. They had less than 40 yards on 18 plays in the first half. They only ended the game with 215 total yards, 155 yards passing, 60 yards rushing. The Eagles big played them to death when the Jaguars were on defense. It was really just a matter of guys making great plays. Saquon Barkley made some highlight reel plays earlier, and Devontae Smith made one of the best catches I've seen anyone make all year. But that's what they did. The Eagles big played them to death, and then the Eagles defense was really opportunistic, and their defensive backs were actually all over the Jaguars receivers. They played them real aggressively. A lot of it wasn't called, but it's the same old for the Jacksonville Jaguars. I know that everybody's going to talk about the valiant effort and how they fought and they did all of these things. Yeah, sure. They did the same thing against Green Bay when they were outplayed, and the Packers sat there and let them come back and tie the game late in the game. That's the Jaguars will play cardiac on you now, but they'll also send you in a cardiac arrest because they do stuff like this all the time. And that's the point that I'm saying when I say same old Jags. It is the same old Jags. They find different ways to lose games, even look kind of impressive in the second half, and they still found a way to lose the football game. Just not good. They're just not good. Started the game off muffing a punt, gave up early points, went down 7-0, was down 22-0, and then did what the Jaguars do. Got something going, and then got the ball back and got something going again, and then Travon Walker makes a good play on a Saquon Barkley fumble, and then they got something else. And you look up, Philly scores another touchdown, but then you look up, it's still a two-score game, and the Jaguars score another touchdown and actually get the ball back with a couple of minutes to go by using their timeouts very wisely. With a couple of minutes to go, they get the ball back on a short field because Philly missed a long field goal, and they have a chance to actually go down and score a touchdown and win the game. I have no problem with the way the game was called at that point. There are a lot of people saying, why didn't they run the ball more? They were leaving too much time for Philly. When your offense has been as anemic as Jacksonville, you don't pick and choose when you score a touchdown. I think what they were trying to do was they had been moving the ball in the second half. They had been going no huddle. They were on the ball, like Doug said that they were going to probably do in the second half. They were going on the ball. They had some things going, even on that last drive. Their biggest play was a pass interference call. Maybe they could sneak one run in there, but remember, they needed a touchdown. The goal wasn't to keep the ball away from Philly. The goal was to score a touchdown. So that's probably on the mind at that point of a team that needs to score a touchdown. That it would be easier to do it from a little bit of distance than it would be to do it from inside the 10-yard line, because the Jaguars struggle inside the 10-yard line. So I have no problem with the way that was going. And I know a lot of people are disagreeing with me, but that's fine. That's fine. I was just sitting there looking at it saying, these boys are actually going to win this game. They got a shot to win this game and at least quiet some people down about some talk about Trevor, about Ryan Nielsen, because boy, they were wearing him out in the first half. I know, and he probably deserves it because of those substitution patterns. I get it. The substitution patterns of the Jaguars' defensive line is still it just has me perplexed because I don't really understand or get it, and I'm sure other people don't. When you look out there, and we'll talk about that on the podcast on Monday, that when you look out there and you notice there's a guy out there that's the first overall pick, who's one of the top 10 guys in sacks in the league and one of the better run defenders, and he's not in the game at the same time on many occasions as a dude you just gave $85 million in guaranteed money to. So I'm just sitting here thinking, like, what are we doing here? Are all of these guys on this team just that even? I mean, you had at critical points in the game, Miles Cole was in the game. I like the kid's potential, but Miles Cole was a rookie drafted in the 7th round. And what I guarantee you, those two guys couldn't have been tired. It just makes no sense to me why they keep doing that. But tale of two halves for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Defense played better in the second half. Trevor Lawrence played much better in the second half. I'll give you his total stats and the individual stats here in segment number 2 of a postcast edition. And we'll do that in just a second, as soon as we let you know about today's sponsors. And today's sponsors, that's right, is Hillsdale College. Hillsdale College, man. I know you can always get smarter as you get older, and ain't nothing wrong with that. Time is our most precious commodity, so don't waste it scrolling through the same mind-numbing content for hours and hours. How you can spend it wisely to improve yourself. You want to know how? History, economics, the great works of literature. Ooh, listen to this one, the meaning of the U.S. Constitution. Did you study these things in high school? Probably not. Or even if you did, maybe it's time for all of us to take a refresher course. Time and technology have changed a lot, but these things have not changed basic fundamental truths about the world and the place that we live in. That's right. That is the world. Here's the thing, man. A few courses are available: Constitution 101, Introduction to Free Market Economics, The Rise and Fall of the Roman Republic, all of that. Go right now to hillsdale.edu/locked on to enroll. There's no cost and it's easy to get started. That's Hillsdale, HILLSDALE.edu/locked on to register and get started. All Hillsdale courses are self-paced, so that you can start whenever and tune in whenever. Plus, you can go deeper with readings, quizzes, discussions, and enjoy the lectures. Our sponsor, Hillsdale College, is offering more than 40 free, that's right, free online courses. So make sure you go to hillsdale.edu/locked on to enroll. Also, today's show is sponsored and brought to you by BetterHelp. Life can give us some challenges sometimes. I've been through it more than once. And guess what? Therapy actually did help me, and I use BetterHelp. You can do the same thing, man. If you just give in and submit to the fact that sometimes you just need a little bit of something to get you back on your square. Life will knock you off, man, with a whole bunch of different things. Even time management is real important. When you can get anxiety and get stressed out by the fact that you don't have all of the time you need to spend with your loved ones. And that is very, very important. Visit betterhelp.com/locked on today to get 10% off your first month. If you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. You fill out a brief questionnaire, you get matched with a licensed therapist, and you can switch therapists anytime for no additional charge. Overcome your fears with BetterHelp. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/locked on. All right, second half here of the postcast. The Jaguars fall 28-23 to the Philadelphia Eagles. These teams are somebody's going to get bit. If they keep playing around with Jacksonville when they get these leads, man, and not remembering, it's easy to look at them and think that they're so disjointed and they're so bad of a team because they do a lot of stuff that's going to make you angry. But they're not that disjointed. The Jacksonville Jaguars can actually get some things going, even with the depleted wide receiver core and having injuries and a new left tackle. It does not matter. If you sit there like sitting ducks, they're going to come and try to catch you. I told Peter Bukowski that last week, and I said it this week. It'll be a good, competitive, close game, but eventually it'll be too much Saquon Barkley, and it was. He had 200 yards total, 2 touchdowns. Jalen Hurts was very efficient with 2 passing scores at 230 yards, 18 out of 24. So, yeah, and then they lost A.J. Brown. He didn't even play in the second half. So that was a little bit of a gift wrap to Jacksonville. But we ain't going to feel sorry for nobody who got injuries because the Jaguars had people that were out. In terms of the Jaguars statistics, one thing that did jump out is Josh Hines-Allen had 2 sacks. That's right. He had 2 sacks on the day. Travon Walker played well too. He had a fumble recovery and actually almost scored with it. On offense, Trevor Lawrence, 16 out of 31 for 169 yards, 0 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. One of them was not his fault. That was all on Travis Etienne, who most people probably thought, man, that's Dearness Johnson was in the game late because maybe Etienne was on a pitch count. I don't know. Etienne might have been on everything you're doing wrong, lately count. And he was out because it seems like he just, what do they call it in golf? He's got the yips. That's what he does, man. Travis Etienne just does not look like the same confident football player that he did even last year. He looks like something that's been off all season, maybe ever since he fumbled that ball in Miami, and he has just not been himself. Tank Bigsby has been their best player at that position. And then you saw late in the game when they're trying to score, they got a 3rd-string running back in there because Etienne's not in the game. Evan Ingram had 5 catches for 45 yards, mostly all in the second half. Parker Washington with 3 for 41 also. Of course, Foy Oluokun led the team in tackles with 7. And, Josh Hines, Jordan Jefferson had a sack. That might be his first one of his career. But other than that, it was Foy Oluokun, Devin Lloyd, Travon Walker, Ventrell Miller, Tyson Campbell, I thought had a very nice game. But other than that, maybe Jeremiah Ledbetter did some things, but it seems like to me, I just saw too many of the backups on that defensive line all over again, and this is just driving me crazy. And I don't want to sit here and belabor that point, but it's the same old Jags. Valiant effort. I got to give them credit for not quitting and always being that kind of team that's just going to fight back and have pride. And this is coming from me, a Florida State fan that can tell you the worst football I have seen in my life has been played in Tallahassee this year. The Jaguars haven't been that terrible all the time. It's just that they cannot seem to put it together for the life of me. And that's why I'm just thinking this thing is probably broken beyond repair because they just can't get out of their own way and can't put a complete game together against a team with a heartbeat and be able to do anything that makes you think that they're going to be able to sustain it. It's just, they play with a lot of intensity today. You think if they had a healthy group at wide receiver, they'd have been even better than that today. But that's the thing. See, they'll come back next week and they won't play with that same energy. And remember, it was a tale of 2 halves. They didn't even do it the first half. They had 30 some odd yards, less than 40 yards on 18 plays in the first half. It was ridiculous. It was absolutely ridiculous. So there's a lot of soul searching to do, I guess. I get some people online telling me, hey, man, it's just good to see some guys looking like they want to be a part of it. Well, one, they're going to get paid Tuesday, so they need to be doing that. But the other part of it is you better be putting out good tape. You better be putting out good tape because everything I think is on the table to be evaluated at the end of the season. I think everything's just on the table to be evaluated at the end of the year. And now they're going to get into more of the meat of their schedule. They're 2-7 right now. They can't lose 2 more games. Now, I know y'all going to laugh at me when I say this. All right. I don't think they're going to be mathematically eliminated until they have 9 losses. They might get them in the next 2 weeks. They got Detroit and Green Bay. So, in whichever order. I mean, Detroit, Minnesota. So, technically, it looks like they're probably out of it now, especially when you look at all of the teams that are in front of them and what their own conference record is already. They might be eliminated with 1 more loss. I don't know that right now, but what I am telling you is all of this is about what, from their perspective, they're going to try to win every game. From our perspective, from the fans and the media, you just want to see competence from some of the players. Okay, who's going to stick and who ain't? How we look at the game and how the Jaguars are going to look at the game from this point forward are 2 different things. Make sure you tap into Locked On Jaguars tomorrow. I'll go over the pressers. I'll listen. I'll give you all the information we need from that. And then I'll build my own stuff in my own mind. The bottom line is it was entertaining. It was a valiant effort. They didn't embarrass the family. They did in the first half, but in the second half, they fought. But almost doesn't count. You have a win and a loss and a tie. Other than that, nothing else matters. And right now, this is just another chapter in this book for the Jaguars of them just being an incompetent football team. Make sure you tap in tomorrow for Locked On Jaguars. Make sure you also tap in for Locked On NFL, 2 shows, a double dose of it. Early in the morning with my man Tyler Rowland, the Madman. He'll bring you in with a double shot of espresso and then slide by the barbershop in the middle of the day where we'll give you all the information with the local use of local experts from around the National Football League. And if there's any breaking news on the Jaguars, I will have it. All right, you guys take care of each other, and I will definitely try to do the same. The Jaguars fall 28-23 and fall to 2-7 on the season.